Welcome to my Toxic Wasteland. I'm the leader around here, Toxic Kiefer, and as voted on via the community tab on my channel, I am reviewing Diary of a Wimpy Kid Christmas Cabin Fever. I saw the first of the CGI's Diary of a Wimpy Kid films when it first aired, and I didn't really care for it much. I remember liking the second one a little bit more, but still not really being impressed. I don't think they're very good. And as I watch this, I have the OG book from my childhood, the Cabin Fever book, sitting right in front of me, kind of taunting with how much better it probably will be, but that probably isn't the right mindset to go into with this film. I'm going into this movie with an open mind and hoping it will be good. With that being said, grab some water, grab a snack, let's get into the movie. Quick disclaimer, I do not own any images used in this film, they all belong to Disney. The opening of the film transitions from CGI to a nice animation in the style of the books, narrated by Greg, talking about how the only thing he cares about during the holiday season is the presents. Now is probably the best time to mention I'm not the biggest fan of the voice they chose for Greg. He's voiced by Wesley Kimmel, aka Jimmy Kimmel's nephew. Wesley's also been in some other Disney shows like WandaVision and Book of Boba Fett. Nothing against him personally or his voice, just not the voice I would have personally chosen for Greg. Back to the movie. In the background, we see some shots of neighborhoods putting up the lights and some kids having a snowball fight, and a kid sticking his tongue onto a candy cane decoration, much like Bridget. Then we see CGI Manny, which nightmare fuel does not even begin to describe how ugly this thing looks. Really, talk about a face only a mother can love. Let's also talk about the other voices here. I think Roderick has a decent voice, Susan's is fine, Frank's probably the best of the cast. He's voiced by Christian Diamondopoulos, who voiced Mickey Mouse from 2013 to present day. He does a bunch of American Dad voices, he was on WWE Raw one time, The Office, just a bunch of stuff really. So I can canonically say that Frank Heffley is Mickey Mouse, which to other people might not mean a lot, but to me, I think it's pretty fucking cool. Greg's main goal here is to get the latest gaming station as graphics realer than real life. Thing is, Greg sends a little shit year round. He shapens up around Thanksgiving to Christmas, which he feels is more than enough to get the $400 system. His mom doesn't really want to talk about it though. She wants to decorate, watch Christmas movies from her childhood, which Roderick and Greg really aren't a fan of, which I really don't blame them. It looks terrifying. Frank walks into the living room carrying a bunch of boxes. Mainly, we're looking here at a wooden box. It's right on top, and Susan sees the box, and it's just filled with nostalgia, and golly, Susan Heffley. I mean, damn! Greg's mom has got it going on, baby. Oh. She opens up the box and is filled with nostalgia. It's a handmade elf on the shelf made by her grandmother using a pinch of Christmas magic. He reports directly to Santa and he gets put on the fireplace, and his name is Alfredo. Greg, for the next 2 weeks, has to be on his best behavior. He better be online because Alfredo will be watching him. And zooey mama, that thing is ugly. We fade to Rowley rolling up a giant snowball to make a snowman, Greg not helping at all, revealing he looks for gifts, and Rowley is just dumbfounded. Spoiler alert. Santa's not fucking real, and Riley still believes in Santa Claus. Then Riley gets asked about Santa by Greg, and we get some more animations in the style of the books about Greg explaining why Santa Claus is creepy. And Greg once again says he doesn't understand why people should be good. He just does not comprehend it, you know, sociopath and all. The giant snowball ends up messing with the lawn, ripping grass up from the ground, and the two just freak out. They poorly cover the patch, and we cut to a snowplow driver driving, and then she sees what she thinks is a kid in the middle of the road. She stops, goes, sees it's a snowman, and gets ambushed by children. And teenagers like just pelting her with snowballs because she's clearing out the roads, which means they're gonna have to go to school again soon. And then, tragedy strikes, the giant snowball rolls off of Greg's lawn into the street, hitting cars, destroying decorations, and crashing into the snowplow, breaking the shovel off the front. The driver sees Greg run away, and she chases down Greg and Riley. Then, hopping a fence, destroying more decorations, but the driver catches up with them at a dead end, which Riley falls over the guardrail, dragging Greg down, but there's a snow hill, so they're basically fine. The two kids ditch their snow gear with the thing as a dumpster, and head on home. Greg's mom asks him where his hat and scarf are and reveals his name is stitched into them because they were made by Aunt Lydia. Susan says the family is taking a trip, and Manny brings along Alfredo. The radio is playing hip-hop remix of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which just makes me so sad. Susan gets upset that she's the only one in the holiday mood, and Frank switches the radio to the news. The forecast is calling for a total whiteout snowstorm, and Susan tells Frank just to stop worrying about the weather. They pass the dumpster. Greg and Riley ditch their stuff, and as Susan points out, it's actually a donation box. People have gifts in there to give to families who can't afford it. The Heffley family pass a one-up poster with a reward for $500 to whoever catches the people that wreck the snowplow. Obviously, it was Greg and someone Riley's fault, but the picture looks like older, more devious versions of the two. The next day, Greg and Riley take a bunch down and they run into Fregley. He's been out there for 2 days, and he's inside of a snowman. So, Normal Fraggle activities. Greg reveals that the dumpster was actually a toy donation bin and Riley freaks out. Riley wants to turn themselves in, but Greg has a plan. Wake up early, get the clothes, and throw them into a wood chipper. We also get another fun animation for this, which has been the best part of the movie by far. We get to the Heffley family minus Roderick building a gingerbread house when Roderick busts into the door with the wanted poster in hand, and the family kind of bash him for it, but Roderick plans to get the reward money. Susan tells Greg to get the wrapping paper, and Frank to go get the gifts for the donation drive. Greg sees a new video game station he wants in the closet and gets just super happy, very excited. He starts acting very kind, very helpful. By the way, throughout the movie, Manny's just been acting like a lass hat. I just put that here, so I can ignore him because he looks fucking hideous. Greg goes to bed happy, filled with joy, and he sets his alarm to wake up at 6:30 a.m. for his plan. But he wakes up at 11:30 instead. Susan changes so he can sleep in early, and then he finds out the snowstorm is far worse than he ever thought it would be. The storm is planned to last a week, and Greg goes to leave to Riley's, but when he opens the door, snow falls all over him, and the storm is just insane, covering up most of the neighborhood up like halfway through the house. The Jefferson family is singing carols, and Riley has just an angelic voice, like for realsy bobealsy, he really does. Super serial. Greg calls to discuss a snowplow incident, and he tells Riley his name was stitched into the hat. Riley almost calls the police, but the power to the whole town goes out. The two kids' secret was safe, and there's only 1 week to Christmas. Roderick shares a story of a family who had to resort to cannibalism to survive when they got snowed in, and Manny says, "Yummy." What does that mean, Manny, you little freak? Susan takes all the phones and declares no TV. We got to 3 days later, and the family's just been freezing, and Susan just playing charades over and over again. The family's just so sick of it. Frank takes inventory, and he notices a case of water missing and a can of yams, and he just goes crazy. Susan declares him having cabin fever, and I haven't mentioned it yet, but throughout the movie, Greg is terrified of Elfriend. He is super paranoid that he's always moving and always watching him. He's been shown countless times looking behind himself to see the ugly thing just staring at him. Susan says Greg is going crazy about the doll, and it keeps playing charades. Suddenly, the pipe bursts in the basement, aka Roderick's room, floods. Roderick's drums and Frank's diorama get ruined. Greg was excited to finally get some alone time when Roderick busts in and says he's moving in while his room's wrecked. Roderick says Greg has been acting very suspicious and accuses him of being involved with the snowplow incident. Roderick says he thinks 2 criminals stole Greg and Riley's winter gear, stuffed them into a snowball, and rolled them down into the plow. He isn't sure, but he says he has all the evidence he needs. Turns out the doorbell has a camera on it and caught everything on tape. The next day, Roderick finds out how to power the doorbell camera with a potato, but the video keeps buffering. Did I really just say video? We skip past the next few days of the montage, supplies slowly dwindling down, Frank being more crazy, and Susan taking a family photo, but Roderick gives Greg a wet willy, causing the tree just to fall on them, just breaking everything. Roderick gets this crazy potato-powered knockoff Ring doorbell, a mini TV set working, and we cut to Christmas Eve. Frank is deadass just stabbing a gingerbread house to death, and Manny is cheering on, more so proving that Manny is just the embodiment of evil. The family ran out of food, toilet paper, and water, and is resorting to eating a gingerbread house, which Roderick then unveils his machine, but Susan and Frank take it apart for, the potatoes, and Susan's worried about the Christmas lights. The two parents break out into a fight, and then Manny disappears. The family goes searching around the house for him, and don't find him, but suddenly he's found, and he's just big time chilling in a closet with a bunch of food, water, toilet paper, sunglasses on, snug as a bug in a rug, for real. Susan's Christmas fear by this time is just completely broken. She went from being the one with the most spirit to just being at rock bottom. The family cheer her up, and then they say they can all open one present early. Greg opens up a new hat and scarf made by Aunt Lydia, and Frank notices it has finally stopped snowing outside. Suddenly, the police drive by, and Greg realizes they're gonna go pick up the stuff for the donation drive, and he realizes he needs to make it. It's now or never. We get a pretty cool scene. It's a Greg vision. Greg and Riley getting laughed at by police and the Elfriend and being thrown into jail and done in black and white for the most part. The only things being in color is Elfrind's clothes and the orange jumpsuits. The movie, for the most part, has been alright. Nothing very special. Nothing you remember 2 days after watching. But that was pretty cool. Greg goes to his room and ventures out of his bedroom window to find a donation box and get the clothes back before the police do. Riley is sound asleep when Greg wakes him up by pelting his window with snowballs. Riley went to bed early in case Santa came early and his Josh Ufa-Doo jammas. Greg scares him into coming so he won't get caught by police, and the two kids hide from a cop car, then rush to the box. They find it missing. The storm buried it, but Greg brought shovels, and they dig and dig and dig, and they just cannot find it. When Greg throws his shovel out of frustration, it hits the box, and Greg hops inside to go get the stuff, but he gets stuck, and Riley ditches him because he thought he saw the cops. It wasn't actually the cops, it was actually the snowplow driver. She doesn't recognize him, and Greg says he was out to make sure that cops could find the box and get the toys for the kids. The snowplow driver thanks Greg and offers him a ride home. It looks like he got away scot-free, and Greg starts to feel really guilty when the driver says she couldn't afford the new game station for her kid Tyler, which, by the way, Tyler looks like a lot like Tommy in it. That's not really important, I just noticed it. The driver tells Greg to cherish his family while he still can, and when he reaches his house, Greg hops out of the truck but realizes he forgot to close his backpack, and his hat and scarf fall out. The driver sees him and recognizes him. When she sees just how terrified the kid looks, she lets him off the hook. When he goes inside, he sees the powers return to everyone in town, and he sees the family just having a great time. Greg even overcomes his fear of his elf-friend. When Roderick sees Greg in the hat and scarf, and he plans to rat him out, but Greg confesses first. He tells his family everything, and then the police come into the neighborhood. Susan finally is on Greg's side, and the family work to hide the evidence. Roderick even eats the wanted poster. Greg tells his family that he's gonna miss them, and goes to tell the cops everything. When Susan gets to the cops first, and the cops are kinda confused. The cops aren't after Greg. They're here to see if the family has anything they want to give away to the toy drive. We get to Christmas Day, and the Heffley family open new presents, having a fun time, and we fade to Tyler and the snowplow driver playing on Greg's game console that he gave them. The final shot of the movie is Elfriend outside of Greg's window somehow confirming it is 100% alive and out to get Greg. And that, viewers, was Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Christmas Cabin Fever. I honestly expected this movie to be a lot worse than it was. It had some really nice visuals and a solid theme track with some classic Christmas songs. It's a more modern take on the Cabin Fever book written by Jeff Kinney. I still personally wouldn't call it a good movie. It was pretty mid, something to put on in the background or watch with some friends and laugh at. I'm not a fan of a lot of the voices, nothing against the actors personally. Like Roderick's voice actor Hunter Dillon did a good job with his voice acting and delivering, but I just don't think he's a good Roderick. Plot's fine and the CGI looks alright for the most part, except whatever the hell Manny was. The movie isn't bad, it isn't good, it's just okay, and for what it is, that's all it really has to be. I would give the movie a 6.25 out of 10. Stay tuned to the channel for new uploads, go down in the description, follow me on my socials, and join the Discord. I have been Toxic Kiefer, and remember, stay hydrated and stay toxic.